I can leave it here if you want, and we can. If you want it on video, we can. Isn't it cool?
Well, we'll talk about it. Yeah, definitely. That's whiskey. Yeah. I like whiskey.
Yeah, this is. I'm new to whiskey. Actually, my first bourbon / whiskey story is actually a fun story. It's very sweet. So
we'll let you tell that when we get started. Save that for the show. But
you got it.
I just made a post the other day. I guess it was yesterday on my story. This billboard that said. I can't remember exactly what it says, but basically, whiskey is the answer to everything. I don't know what the answers are, but whiskey is the answer. I don't know.
I approve that message.
Yeah, I do too.
The older I get, and I'm not a good drinker, but the more my life tends, the more sideways everything keeps going, the more I'm accepting of this.
There you go.
So I'm learning to embrace that as whiskey is the answer to everything.
That's right.
Bourbon, yes, or
bourbon.
The
answer lies at the bottom of every glass.
It's true. Yep. It's my grandfather would approve that message. My grandfather, that's a whole different podcast.
And if you don't find it in this glass, it's in the next glass. So keep drinking until you find the answers.
Absolutely. Awesome.
All right, lead heads, welcome back to another episode of the Talking Lead podcast. I am your host, Lefty. 10 years of leducating the unleducated here on the Talking Lead podcast. That's right, we are celebrating our 10-year birthday, in case you hadn't heard, with a huge giveaway. We have nearly $10,000 in prizes, and we've got 6 awesome prize packages that we've divided those up into. So if you haven't heard about it, go back to the previous episode because we break down each of the prize packages and we talk about each of the prizes that are in those. And just to entice you a little bit more, we're giving away an AP5 from Century Arms. We're giving away a Tavor from IWI. We're giving away an AR7 from Henry Rifles. We've got a special Kel-Tec Sub 2000 that we've got in this. It's kind of a unique unicorn. And is that it? Is that 4 guns? I think that's our 4 guns there. But that plus a whole lot more. Primary Arms has kitted each of those with an optic. We've got some scopes from Crimson Trace. Seal 1 has jumped in. Mission First has got lots and lots of awesome prizes in that. Kraken gun cases. We've got, I think, 5 of those that we're giving away. And we've got ASP USA has put in some awesome prizes. And I know I'm forgetting somebody, but I'll catch them as we go through the show here. But go back to the previous episode. It's a good episode. I had some of you lead heads on there, and it was a good time. So check that episode out. This episode is going to be more, I don't want to say political, but it's going to be more of a political type topic. And it's just more for education. It's news you can use if you choose, and we want you to get more involved with what's going on with this particular topic and subject. And it's hardening our schools, our public schools, our private schools, protecting our children. Don't they say that our children are our future? So it's protecting our future and giving them safer environments and I guess less stressful places to where they can become model citizens. And to help me do that on this episode, I've got 2 guests joining me, and they're both new. So I got 2 new guys, and sometimes a girl this episode. It's a rarity, but I always welcome women on the show because we love hearing from our females and their perspective on firearms and 2A and just everything.
Good answer, Lefty.
Right? It's Kerry with Stilettos and Shotguns, and also she started a nonprofit called We the Female. Kerry, welcome in.
Thank you for having us on. I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to have this chat.
Well, it's no time out of my schedule. I welcome it, and I appreciate that you guys are on and willing to talk about this because I think it's a very important subject. And then there are some things that you guys are doing to further this, and we're going to talk about what you and Guns of America and what was the other company?
Gun Owners of America and Cloverleaf Precision, which is owned by State Representative Jay Stiegall in the state of Oklahoma.
There you go. And joining us also with Gun Owners of America, and we've never had, as far as I can remember in my 10 years, I don't think we've ever had anybody from Gun Owners of America on the show, Jordan Stein, who is the Southeast Regional Director, and he's been with GOA for 7 years now. So welcome in, Jordan.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on. And I have a question.
Sure.
Is there a poncho that goes with Lefty?
So there's a story behind that nickname, but yeah. Do you want to be my poncho? You can be my poncho.
Be the poncho.
We were talking earlier, Jordan and I. He's a hunter also, and as you lead heads know, I talked about it a little bit before. I got my first crossbow harvest this year, a couple of weeks ago, and it was a nice 9-pointer, beautiful deer. And Jordan has also recently got into the crossbow hunting, and you've had better luck than me. You've gotten 2 harvests.
I sure have. I've been very blessed this year. I bought my house and it came with a little bit of land, and I was very fortunate to take 2 deer this year with my crossbow. First was a doe, and then the second was a 7-pointer buck, which is really interesting because of how the rack is. When I first saw the buck come up, I had thought he'd been fighting or something because the rack is offset, and I had thought like part of the rack had broken off or something. But eventually I arrow him and he runs about 40, 50 yards and everything. And my crossbow, it's a 10-point Titan M1. Very impressed with it. And I have rage broadheads. I mean, it just cuts a big hole through the deer. And I was, fortunate enough to make good ethical shots on the deer. And but come to find out that it wasn't broken off. It's just really crooked. So
hey, it happens to the best of us. Everybody's got a little crook. A little to the left, to the right.
I'm happy with it. I like interesting deer, and I've seen a few more deer come up recently, but none that I just really wanted to shoot. So
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was agreeing with you. Mine, is a 9-pointer. Anytime you get those off kilter numbers, there's probably usually something unique, about the rack. And this one, I don't have it here. I've got it in the garage because I'm preparing it to mount. It's got
every rack is unique, Lefty.
They are, and I appreciate every one of them. Absolutely.
All racks are beautiful.
Oh, I love that. That's a patch.
All racks matter.
Racks matter, that's right. But this one's got a little point coming out, and then it goes up. It's just like it's a perfect hanger, But I'm not going to hang anything off mine. But it's kind of cool. But I've been enjoying that.
I have both of my deer heads in the ground. I'm letting them decompose, and I'll probably mount them up. I got that was the first deer I killed.
Well, you got your blur screen on. Turn your blur screen off so everybody can see it.
All right, let's see if I can figure out how to do that.
Don't be stingy.
It was my first deer, and at the time I had 1 day to hunt, and I was gonna shoot whatever came my way, and that little guy came up. It's just a little 4-pointer, I know, but he walked out in front of me, and I smoked him, and he tasted really good.
Yeah.
So, this is kind of my trophy wall because I've been fortunate enough to go to Kansas and hunt pheasant and quail and did a little bird hunting in Wyoming and everything. So
Jordan is quite the hunter. Very nice. I'd like to see that.
So I'm really after turkey. Like that's next on my bucket list. And I hunted some this spring, but I missed the turkey this spring. And I'll admit it, I missed. I just pulled over the trigger, shot over its head.
It happens to the best of us, buddy.
I have a special surprise for the turkeys this year.
Uh-oh.
Little unconventional.
What do you got there?
We can have guns on this, but
absolutely we can have guns on. This is a gun podcast, son. Look behind me.
Excellent. So this is a Rossi Tuffy 410 turkey.
Ooh,
and
nice.
It's got a red dot on it. So I'm trying something different other than the 12 gauge with get some good tungsten shots. So
Yeah.
that's what I'll be planning the turkey hunt with this year. And this is so light and handy. Like,
Was that like
I
a
really
30-inch?
It's I think it's a 26-inch barrel. So it's a little long, but it's still super handy.
Yeah,
so,
it looks super lightweight.
Mm-hmm.
Nice little 410.
So I should be able to, hold it out for a long time if I had to. So
yeah,
really exciting. So,
I don't hunt yet. I'm an herbalist though, so I'm always protected. I'm the dirt doctor.
The dirt doctor.
The zombies come because I know which plants to kill you with or help you survive with. So
oh, nice.
yeah, I mean, we bought 30 acres in Georgia to homestead, and we got a lot of deer on the property. So I'm learning, and I want to learn how to crossbow hunt.
It's the easier of the two. I want to do the compound bow, but the my learning curve wasn't long enough this year, so I decided to just go ahead with the crossbow because it's just like shooting a rifle pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, I went out, probably shot 100 arrows before I went on my hunt just to make sure, because I don't want to jack up, like you said earlier. Don't want to be unethical with my hunt.
Yeah.
But,
I bopped myself in the nose with a compound, there's too many.
Yeah,
I'm not coordinated enough for a compound.
Beat your forearm up, and
yeah.
You could put your eye out.
Now my wife, we talked about like real bows. She's the archer, and she does a recurve, and I mean she can Robin Hood arrows. Like, she is just an incredible archer. She doesn't care to hunt, but she can just smoke the arrows, and it's very impressive.
Yeah,
I love that. I think it's cool. I love that the art of bow hunting is coming back, and just both the sport of it.
Well, the technology is increasing to the extent to where you don't have to be Rambo to be able to draw back a bow. Anymore.
Yeah, I believe y'all can probably think. What's that? There's a movie with the gal with the bow. What is it?
I don't know.
Hunger Games.
Right. That women, a lot of young women became very interested in bow hunting.
Or just archery in
just
general.
shooting.
Yeah, not necessarily bow hunting, but just archery in general. Yeah.
Archery in general, yes, and I know my daughter did. I mean, so when those movies came out a few years back, so it's funny how those trends will kind of play in. Yeah, I don't. That's definitely. I mean, not something.
Movies and pop culture have a direct effect on society, and what you see and what's popular, and that's why they call it pop culture. So.
A friend of mine is the guy. I'm sure that there's a much fancier term for this, but he's the guy that puts weapons from the gun industry into
movies,
video games.
In video games, okay. I had a guy.
Call of Duty. So when somebody wants
I had that guy on the show. I don't know if he's your friend or not, but I did have that guy on the show not too long ago.
I'm sure there's more than one of them, right? But that does it. But yeah,
could be your friend. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, his name is Chris Deeb, I'm sure there's more than one of them.
I think that was him. I think that's who was
Chris,
on the show.
Yeah, he's a cool
Did
dude.
he used to, or does he work for Leviathan also?
Yeah.
That's who I had on.
Contractor for them, right?
Who I had on.
He contracts with them, and when they want the weapons in, he's the one that has to is it gonna work? Is it not?
So leadheads, go back to that episode where I interviewed Chris Deeb, and that's exactly what we talked about. Firearms
he's my buddy.
and
He
video
doesn't
games.
live far from me actually, but that to me, when I learned about that, and of course it makes sense, but it's one of those things that you never think about, right? And I was like, that's really
But
fascinating.
look, now you can tell him that you were on the Talking Lead podcast now.
I
you
will,
have joined the crew.
We've been talking dogs a lot because I rescued a little walnut-brained German Shepherd recently, and he's a dog rescuer. So we've been that's been our interactions lately, been about our dogs.
Very good.
But that was something fascinating for me to learn, and to learn that I guess CMMG really wanted to get that descent, which I think looks cool, but apparently a lot of the gaming industry doesn't like the way it looks, and so they're having a hard time getting it into games. Random, who knew, right, that this exists? Of course it exists. Where else are they going to get it, right?
Yeah.
So when you think, it's not something you ever think about until you meet somebody that does it, I guess, right?
It's true. It is true. Unless you're like a big gamer. And if you're a firearms enthusiast and a gamer, then you're very, you critique the hell out of the guns that they put in the games. And
Yes.
and all that. And they're never ever going to be just like
No.
the real thing, because gaming is just that. It's gaming, and it takes the fun out of it if you don't give a certain edge to a gun or optic or something like that. So our topic today, Leadheads, isn't video games or hunting, but we're going to be talking about, as you heard me say earlier, hardening our school systems for our kids. But before we do that, we got to take care of some jackwagons, and we want to honor some heroes with the planes and trains. So, Gunny, bring that train in.
Hoorah, Semper Fi, do or die, hold 'em high at 8th and I. It is time for the talking lead jackwagon of the week, so brace yourself, baby.
All right, the train has stationed. Did you hear that train? You
I did hear
you
it.
couldn't miss it. You couldn't miss it.
I hear a train coming around the bend.
Yeah, and it's got Arlie Ermy the Gunny on it. So let's take care of some jackwagons first. And Kerry, you said you had a couple of jackwagons, so we'll give you the honors, ladies first.
Mine are Sheila Jackson Lee, which she could probably make the list every week, honestly, and Joy Reid in their interview discussing Victor, what's his last name, the Russian that was just traded, the arms dealer.
Yeah, the memes are all over the place with
that.
that.
Dude that plays for the WNBA.
That dude.
Brett, is his name Brett? Oh, Brittany, right.
It's a chick.
Yeah, that guy. They traded, and the whole interview was essentially that he's not the one responsible for killing people; it's the guns. Like this whole.
Are you serious? That was their whole.
You'll have to see the interview. I didn't think to pull. I mean, we were having technical difficulties with some other stuff today, so I didn't get a chance to pull it up. But Jordan, if he's in front of his computer, he can pull it up because y'all got to hear it, because this is. I just went, and I can't decide if they really. I really want to say that this is theater, but I honestly think that they really do believe this.
Oh, they do. They do. They're so sincere in what they're saying, and I don't know that they even know what they're saying. I don't think they even hear what they're saying. They're just vomiting words that they think people want to hear. Yeah,
and there's all kinds of controversy right now with this Victor thing, in the gun world, right, in the community. Where people are like, I can't believe you're mad at them releasing an arms dealer, or this and. So my only beef is the fact that they released him back, but they want to take away our ability to defend ourselves with a semi-automatic pistol. That's my beef.
So you're talking about Victor Bout?
Bouts, that's it. Yeah, the dealer of death, right? Dealer of death, was that his name?
I don't know. I have no idea. But who did the interview?
I needed more of that to talk about them. Sheila Jackson Lee and Joy Reid.
Is that on a show? What show is that?
Probably Joy Reid's show on MSNBC. Somebody sent me the clip of it,
Joy
and I watched it, so I didn't commit it to memory. And when I saw that you were going to ask for that today with this, I was like, that's exactly who needs to be called out, because it's pretty cringy.
I'm not finding anything just right off the bat because I don't know really how to search for it. But I don't put it past those people.
I'll find it and give it to you so you can plug it in to see it, because you're going to go. I'm
not shocked by anything that these TV personalities have to say anymore, because again, they don't know what they're saying. They're robots. They've got a script there. Somebody else is writing it for them 99% of the time anyway. Yeah. And they're Ron Burgundy. You could put anything in there and they'll repeat it.
That's true. Cellini, isn't his name Cellini? Is that his name? The guy from New Hampshire, the rep. He's from New Hampshire, I believe, or up north. The one that kept trying to say that the pistol braces made a gun a bump stock, and the look.
Oh yeah.
And the look on Massey's face the whole time. And I think one of my favorite lines, like if this were that week, I would go back to that when he says, the internet's going to teach you something in about 5 minutes. It was great. I messaged him. I said, I don't know how, you're doing God's work. I don't know how you do it and put up with these people and not absolutely just light them up.
Yeah. Not just
I don't get it.
And there's no time limit for jackwagon. So, we can go back.
Awesome.
Hundreds of years if we need to call somebody out as being a jackwagon. We don't have a problem doing that at all.
That should be its own dedicated episode.
I mean, we could. I have to cut them short because we could talk the whole episode just on jack wagons. So Jordan, what about you? You got a jack wagon?
Oh boy, I mean, it's a target-rich environment.
It is. It is so target-rich.
But I think I might say, and I'll go there. Gun owners who are complacent, who don't want to get involved to fight for what they own.
Yeah.
They're jack wagons. If you just own a gun, I'm sorry, but you've inherently become political.
I.e. Oregon. Look at all the complacent gun owners in Oregon, and look what happened to them.
Yep.
We watched that happen in Washington State with 1639, and that was what threw me into this.
Yeah.
And it was that was the whole thing. There's all kinds of stuff in it, but one of them we had people constantly. My husband is submitting a hero and jack wagon.
Okay. Well, tell him to sit down there. He can be on.
Ready to submit.
Let's hear him. I want to hear him.
To submit his, and I'll tell you what it is in a minute because it's under hero. It's kind of funny.
Nice.
But that just made me lose my train of thought.
Go ahead, Jordan. Complete your jack wagon there. Complacent gun owners.
Well, because and it really it kind of blurs into that FUD mentality. Like, what do you need that AR-15 for, right? All right, bear with me again. I have guns.
And why do you need a bump stock?
Like, why do you need this, right? Like, you don't need this to kill a deer, right?
No.
So just give up on this. But the thing is, if we just compromise and give this away, before we know it, this is all we're going to have.
Right.
We're not even going to have that, Jordan. And we've already started the compromises with years before even the bump stocks. But the bump stocks were one because everybody, even gun owners, were like, they're just this is a stupid invention. I don't need them. I don't use them. They're just a novelty. Take them. Who cares? Let's give them one for the. Just to appease them. And you can't do that because you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile because they had all kinds of other things. It wasn't just bump stocks. There was all kinds of other things that was tied to that,
clearly,
that they turned into
just
machine guns.
Look at what the ATF has done, in the last 2 years, right? They have demonized gun owners over brace pistols, demonized gun owners over homemade firearms. Which I don't know anything more American than making your own gun. Like, that practice has been going on in this continent.
Making your own anything, Jordan. I mean, go back to Prohibition. What did people do when they made the whiskey illegal? Well, we started making it ourselves.
Kennedy's.
Yep.
And that's what they're doing by criminalizing owning firearms. Is okay. Well, people are still going to make them. They're still going to get them. It's just going to be through nefarious, and I mean, I won't say illegal, but if they make it that way, then it'll be illegal. Just like drugs, when marijuana was a great example of that.
Can I add another jack wagon?
You can add as many as you'd like, sir.
And I'll be relatively quick, but I'm going to add, coming to my home state, the Tar Heel State. Mecklenburg County Sheriff Greg McFadden.
Okay.
Right? So, if you live in North Carolina, you've probably been following this, but this sheriff has been slow walking the issuance of permits drastically. Not that you should have to get a permit to buy or carry a gun, right? Right, constitutional carry all the way. But North Carolina, if you want to buy a handgun, you have to have a dumb pistol purchase permit or have a carry permit. Right. Well, Mecklenburg County, where Charlotte is one of the biggest counties in the state. The sheriff has been slow walking the process every step of the way. And so GOA and Grassroots North Carolina State Group sued him, right? And we got a victory in the courts. Well, the sheriff found this so-called loophole, and now he's continuing to slow walk permits. So he's keeping the people who just want to protect themselves by buying a gun or carrying a gun in Mecklenburg County disarmed and unable to protect themselves. Again, so what? So GOA has sued again. So, I don't know how many times we're going to sue this guy until he actually follow the laws so people can protect themselves. But we'll sue till we're blue. But it's not even a real loophole. In fact, one of the crazy things he's doing is he's going to the Veterans Administration for mental health records of people who didn't serve in the military. So those records don't even exist, and the VA's like, what are you asking for? This person didn't serve, and he's just trying
medical
to do every
records
step of the
confidential
way
anyway? Aren't medical records confidential anyway?
Yeah, it's very frustrating.
So in Washington State, that 1639 that we tried to, that I was their plaintiff for, that's what threw me into this entire world, is that when you sign the 4473, it's an automatic waiver of your medical record, and they can deny you the purchase of a firearm based on what they find in your medical record. Now, you and I both know they're not looking for ingrown toenails. Mm-mm. And as a domestic violence survivor, people usually, and more often than not, associate PTSD with veterans, right? Which is what he's looking for. But they don't think about one of the other top 3 demographics is of having it are domestic abuse victims. And I spoke out about that. And, my ex at that time, my abuser, was stalking me. And I said, y'all just put me in a position that I might not be able to buy a firearm to protect myself against him. And so speaking of jack wagons, I had no idea. And I said, it sounded really good. I'm like, yeah, because you didn't read it. Well, we read it. No, you didn't. Because if you read it, that was one of the few things in it that was very clearly written. They just didn't market it. So nobody knew about it. So they voted on an automatic 10-day waiting period and safe storage and all this other stuff, but they didn't know that it was in there because they didn't actually take the time to read it. And that's what they're going after, which is why this is they're going after this whole gun violence, which is a made-up term, is a health crisis. It's now a healthcare crisis. They're trying to angle it that direction, and that's how they're getting in. So look at your states. I did not mean to hijack this, but this just happened here, and they think that we don't have red flag laws in Georgia, but we do, because it's in a healthcare bill. So watch your healthcare bills as well, because they will sneak these red flag laws in. They've been. Well,
that's how they got through with all the COVID stuff, is they made it a pandemic.
Correct.
And therefore, they can just bypass all the normal laws and rules that protect us. And there you go. National crisis. It's a pandemic. It's a national crisis now. Now, none of these things apply to us, and we can just violate your free will, your laws, your rights willy-nilly as we see fit. So you got to watch these people. They're sneaky.
You do, and that's where they're getting them in, and that's, Jordan and I are getting ready to start hitting a local representative here in my district who voted for that, and I'm hoping that she did it because she was green and didn't know what she was doing, because it was right after she was appointed. Or one special election.
Well, let's do this. Let's talk about heroes now. Those are some good jack wagons, and I don't have one.
For hours about the jack wagons.
Yeah, I don't have one. But I want to. You said you had some heroes there. Your husband wanted to throw on Lead Force 1. So let's hear your hero.
It is Beto O'Rourke.
He's a hero. Okay, I'll humor you.
Firearm owners, because Beto O'Rourke wasted $110 million of Bloomberg anti-gun money. Because he wasted all that money on Beto to get him elected, and Beto couldn't get elected. Watch out, Louisiana! I think he's coming for y'all.
Nice. Yeah. We need more people like that to spend all of his money so that he'll run out of money and he can't do this crap anymore.
Wouldn't that be great?
It would be, but apparently he's got an endless supply of it.
So I guess, right? That's how the media spends stuff, right?
Right. Sure.
My personal one surprised. Is, I know that I wasn't going to go this route, but you encouraged me to do it, so I will, is I'm a big American women's history nerd. For those of you that know me, women contributed far more than people think. Mercy Warren Otis was our first propagandist, and John Adams and George Washington intentionally used her skills for propaganda and actually gave her what to write about to essentially put us into the war. And she was a hardcore, hardline anti-federalist. But Abigail Adams, there a lot of people know the quote from her: "Remember the ladies and be more generous and favorable to them than your ancestors. And if proper attention isn't paid to the ladies, will ferment rebellion." I mean, everybody's heard that quote, I feel. But that was in a letter that was written that also says this: "I have sometimes been ready to think that the passion for liberty cannot be equally strong in the breasts of those who have accustomed to deny their fellow creatures of theirs." In other words, is our desire for liberty as strong as those that wish to keep us under control?
That's right. You got to have the stronger willpower. You got to want it more.
That's very relevant right now. And so she's kind of the hero for that one, because first of all, nobody knows that she was way wiser than what she's given credit for. But the fact that she saw the inaction, right? Like with Jordan's jack wagons and like the lazy or the inaction, or, if we just get quiet, and don't cause ruffles, it'll go away, kind of
Or we
thing.
give them this, they'll go away. Let's just give them this, they'll go away.
Yeah, and she literally was watching that happen. This was she wrote this letter in March of, it was on March 31st of 1776. So right as he was getting, approval to write the Declaration of Independence, and all this stuff. So she saw that. She saw the complacent behavior of the colonists and was deeply concerned and wanted to make sure that and because of this and some other ones, she actually pushed her husband. A lot of people don't realize this, but she was one of the biggest pushes for the reason why the Declaration of Independence that John Adams got it passed. So she's my hero.
That's a great hero. I like that.
Thanks.
What about you, Jordan? You got one?
Yeah, I'm going to say for today, the Babylon Bee, because they put out a video this morning featuring a very cute and sweet 6-year-old boy who just so happens to be Kamala Harris's speechwriter. If you haven't seen it,
Is this on Instagram?
I'm sure it's all over their social media,
Babylon
Instagram
Bee.
or Twitter. But it is drop dead hilarious because really her speeches they could be written by a 6-year-old boy, and they did a fantastic job. The boy is super cute and sweet, but it really hits home. So,
which one is it?
Go down a little bit. I saw it on their Twitter, so I don't know if I see it here.
Is this it?
But it was definitely on their Twitter.
Is this it?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
Twitter.
I can't read it with
Let's go to Twitter. And I wanted to show this. This is my jack wagon, by the way. I forgot.
I saw that as well.
Have you seen this?
I can't see it. Who is it?
It's just some Russian dude. So
Oh no.
check this out. And you guys won't be able to hear it, but there's nothing really to hear other than the very end. And I'll let you know when that comes into play. So
Все идеально сделано, все, под работу. Прошу обратить ваше внимание сейчас на одно из упражнений. Упражнение как раз оно служит для молодых людей, которые пришли служить в спецподразделения или в школу милиции.
an AK.
Посмотрите внимательно.
It's a 5.45.
Пока можно из руки делать.
He's checking
Как я
his
делаю
mag.
быструю
It's empty.
перезарядку. Я могу магазином.
So he's showing a reload here.
Раз, два,
Flipping, rock,
Three.
lock, cock, pull the trigger. Bullet drops
все идеально сделано,
when he
все, под работу.
cleared it. There was a
Прошу
bullet
обратить
in
ваше
there.
внимание сейчас на одно из упражнений.
You hear it hit the floor. Did you see his face?
Yeah, I caught it in his face.
Look at his face. He's like, oh shit. He's like, oops.
Whoopsie. That's the meme. That's the meme right there. That look on his face right there.
Right? So I'm
Oh my-
looking for, who you say, Babylon something?
Babylon Bee,
Babylon
yep.
Bee, which is supposed to be satire. But
It's prediction. It's future headlines.
they're hilarious.
I know I saw it on the Twitter. If you scroll down a little bit, it's a video. Just looked at it. There it is.
This it?
There it is.
All right.
Okay,
Yep.
I gotta hear this.
Oh, let me play here. So this is Oliver something.
Hi, I'm Oliver Bartholomew, and I'm 16 and a half years old, and I'm the speechwriter for Kamala Harris. My mommy and daddy say if you find a job you love, you'll never have to work a day in your life. Morning, Frank.
Yeah, hey, Oliver.
And my parents were right. Ever since I was little, I liked words. Writing words is fun, so I made writing words my job. Every politics person has a writer, like me, to make good words for them to say.
Space is exciting. Space, it affects us all. And it connects us all.
I got that idea when I was thinking about space and how big it is. Man, it's big. It's not all fun though. Sometimes I have to write about bad stuff, like war.
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically that's wrong.
It's cool to see the words I've typed.
Okay, I'm not going to play the whole thing. It goes on for like 4 minutes, so, but
Oh my goodness.
that's hilarious.
It's worth the watch. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I like his little comb over and his red tie. I'm just saying, I think that's
Oh,
that's
yeah.
funny.
And he's got that little kid speech impediment, too, as he's...
Oh my gosh, he's great.
As he's
So
talking.
another hero
That's
you could
hilarious.
throw in there. I don't know if you know, but DeSantis is totally not gun related at all. But did you see that DeSantis is he ordered the state to start investigating the vaccine makers and all the COVID shutdown and everything to criminally, so they can criminally charge them?
Well, that's good, but I mean, is that going to go anywhere, really?
I don't know. We'll see. If it's going to go anywhere, it will, at least in that state, right? I mean,
Hopefully.
If it's going to happen anywhere, it'll happen there.
Hopefully, you know. Hopefully it will.
So he could probably be thrown in as a mention as well.
Yeah, he does a lot of good things and right things.
Yeah, I agree.
Not that he's the best or anything, but he's good. He does a lot of people could take notes from him, definitely.
Yeah, I know everybody wants him to run in 24, but the people in Florida don't, because this is his last term, right? And I think that election happens before he's up for re-election or something. I have to do the math, but
yeah.
They want him to finish out that last term, and I think he will. I think he's too young. But
yeah, we need him. We need him a little later down the road.
Well, I'd like to see him push this Florida state legislature to fix some of those ridiculous gun control laws that they have down there.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of those all over the United States, and we all need to work on
People
fixing
think that Florida is this great. They've got this.
The fact that we have any gun laws, is ridiculous. Murder is already illegal. Okay, it's already a crime against humanity, and I don't know what you need to go any further than that. So, all right, let's move on to our main topic here. So, thank you guys for the Lead Hip Brigade heroes. Did you do all your heroes?
That's all I got.
Okay, all right, good deal.
Just all of them.
We want to make sure we get all the heroes, because the jackwagons we can always we can get
Thomas
those.
Massey is always a 2A hero, so we can always throw him in. But he could apply at any.
And being this time of the season, Santa Claus is my hero. So yay, Santa Claus! Yay, Santy! So let's get into our main topic here. So we want to talk about what you guys are doing in Oklahoma. You've got a fundraiser to train some teachers, and let's kind of start off with that, and then we'll get into the main target. So talk about what you guys are doing there, Gun Owners of America, We the Female, and that senator guy that you guys are doing.
You want me to start, Jordan?
Kick it off, Kerry.
Okay, so We the Female, obviously, in short, our mission is to arm the women with education, confidence, and self-defense. That's the core value. Helping women, or Americans in this case, embrace their inalienable right of self-defense through education and choosing to be armed, or having the proper accessibility to firearms if that's what they choose. And based on so many things that have been going on with the shootings and so on, so forth, and the lack of action from the quote unquote pro-gun side of the state legislature, state legislatures, after Uvalde, Representative Jay Stiagall from Oklahoma reached out to me, knowing what I do. We've been friends for a while, and said, obviously a lot of teachers are women. Your thing is about arming women. What do we need to do to get some teachers trained? And I said, I am in. Let's do this. So it took us a couple months to kind of coordinate to get together, but so it is now. We're here. And my battery's dying. I'll have my husband grab me a charger.
Get a charger.
We're here now and finally able to coordinate this, and in part, huge part, due to the generosity of Gun Owners of America for coming in and helping they donated to help sponsor this event. We are arming teachers in the state of Oklahoma. So we are on January 7th and 8th. We are hosting a training seminar. It's not really a seminar, classes that will meet the Oklahoma state requirements for teachers to be armed, which, yes, we know that they exist. Yes, we know that they're not great. And the Jay and several other state representatives are trying to work to get those requirements removed. But for now, we have to color in their lines. And so the requirements are quite steep. They have the concealed carry permit training that they have to go through, and what's called cleat training, which is like security guard training. And so they're trying to get some of those removed. But until then, we are going to provide that training on the 7th and 8th to teachers or any staff, any public or private school staff, from administration, to the lunch ladies. Anybody who wants to come and take that training can come and take it for free. And that's thanks in part to donors to We the Female, as well as the generous donation from Gun Owners of America. And we are going to arm the teachers. And if you are a teacher in Oklahoma or work in the school system, private or public, in any capacity, and you want this training, you are welcome to join us. It is very limited. The space that we're being given to use is very limited, and size-wise for the range and classroom and such. So we will do another one once we're done with this one. But so if you want this training for free, it is available on the 7th and 8th, and it's a way that we've decided, as it usually is, right? You get the government out of the way, and it's amazing what private industry can do. And we're gonna take
laissez-faire, baby, laissez-faire.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to take on what and solving the problem that the government can't do, and we're going to keep our students and education staff from being soft targets. And we're going to help these teachers and other school employees be able to protect themselves and these children, since obviously their state and governments will, or law enforcement won't.
So how long is a 1-day class? How many hours? What are you doing?
It's a 2-day class, and they have to have I think it's 8 hours of, I have to look up the specifics on it. And I can get them for you. 8 hours of the CCW class, and that includes firing, live fire training, and then they have to go through this cleat training, and that's a whole other section of this that they have to do, and they have to have so many hours of cleat training.
Of what training?
Which is the CLEAT, like cleat training, security guard training.
Okay.
And the state of Oklahoma has passed a law saying that teachers can carry on campuses, but they have to have these requirements. Jordan, I think, is pulling them up there for you. So they have to go through all of these requirements, though, to get it, and it includes this cleat training. That's the first one that the representatives are after to dissolve, because teachers, A, don't want to be, and B, don't need to be security guards. They're not security guards. They're going to be there to help mitigate a threat if they get past what there should already be security, available. There we go. And then the training will include, obviously, the firearm training. So the students that will attend will receive all of the education that is needed that meets the state requirements to receive their permit to carry as a educator on a school campus. Additionally, it will they're constitutional carry, so it doesn't really matter, in that respect, because the state itself is a constitutional carry state. But they will receive everything that they need for to be able to carry on campus, and we're providing everything. They're welcome to bring their own firearm if they want, but we will have everything available to those students if they do not have that available to them. And a lot of times women don't have that because they want to, if it's a woman that's wanting to come and do this and they don't carry, or they've not done much shooting, oftentimes they want to come and take the class and learn before they go purchase a gun, and so on and so forth. So we're providing that, and we're going to use 22s for this, for a lot of it just for expense, but to run them through the training. But we have the firearms, we have the ammo, we have everything that they will need.
I mean, it's good, but I mean, it's still unfortunate that you're training with 22 because they need to be training with what they're going to be carrying, obviously. So let me ask you this:
somebody will generously donate some 9mm ammo, and then we can run some training with them with 9mm too. But this is definitely something that it's pricey. It's about $350 a student that we're covering for free.
And what does that cover? The free $350. What does that cover?
That's the entire training. That includes the concealed carry permit training, the live fire training, and the cleat training.
Is that the permit? Is that something that the state issues?
So the state does issue it, and from what Representative Stiagall told us is that OK2A, that organization that's very active with gun rights in Oklahoma, will reimburse the teachers for their permit fee that they have to pay. So that includes the permit fee, that $350. But they can submit their receipt to OK2A and have that reimbursed to them from that organization.
But you're saying this is free. This doesn't cost them anything except the permit, or that's included also? Not
even the permit. They'll have to pay initially, and then OK2A, Oklahoma Second Amendment,
is going to reimburse them.
Organization, they will reimburse them for that permit. So this is at literally no cost to teachers or educators or anybody that works.
Anybody involved in the school system is what you're saying.
Anybody involved in the school system can come and get their training for free. What they were finding is, for many reasons, there was accessibility issues, as well as the financial hit, right? I mean, that's expensive, and teachers don't make a lot of money. So the cost was prohibitive, but also after COVID, a lot of the community colleges that were teaching this cleats training, the security guard training, closed down, and then not reopen those programs. So there's also a lot of accessibility issues in play here. And so we're trying to knock all of that out and solve this problem for these educators.
Gotcha. And what's the limit? How many people can take this course?
So for this one, we're limited to about 30.
Okay.
Because we just don't have the space. So
is this all of Oklahoma that this is open to? The whole state? Anybody?
The entire state.
Colleges, elementary schools, what are those before elementary? I don't know what they're called. I don't have kids. So.
Like preschool, pre-K,
All that?
Public, private, anybody, janitors, the lunch ladies, the principals.
Anybody but students.
Anybody but students. Which is a whole other podcast that we can have a conversation about that'll probably ruffle some feathers, but that's a different conversation. But yes, it is available to anybody who works in the education system, public or private.
Gotcha. But the first 30, first come, first serve. So you got to jump on this. And I guess depending on the success of this, and if you can get more supporters, sponsors, in the future, you'll do more of these training courses. Who's actually doing the training? You're going to be doing the training?
I'll be doing the concealed carry training. I'm a USCCA certified instructor, but Jordan will be my support staff on that. He is also a certified instructor, and he is also our first male We the Female certified instructors. So my organization actually has our own firearms instructors as well, because we truly do have a different approach. A lot of people say they got different approaches. A lot of people, I hear this all the time, and I know Jordan is now waking up, he's seeing this. We teach women, we know how to work with women, and that's cool. I'm not saying that what you're doing is wrong, but I'm telling you what we do is truly different than anything that is out there. Because as a survivor myself, who's been in the business of women for 30 years, I come from the day spa, the beauty fashion industry. So I have come to learn a few things about women and understanding how they think and so on. And particularly with abuse survivors, or people that have had, women that have had negative experiences with guns. Grandpa handed them the 357 when they were 5 years old, right? And knocked them on their butts. And, they don't realize that this still intimidates them, when they're 40. And Jordan got to watch that firsthand with actually a family member that he didn't realize was scared of guns. And we were able to get into those layers and figure out what it was. But what I like to say is, and it's very true, but it's sometimes we have to help women learn that their lives are worth defending before we can teach them how to defend them. So our entire approach is completely different in how we even get them to, before we even have them pull a trigger.
Sure.
We're on the line doing a lot of things.
So this all started, the Arm the Teachers training event all started by and again, I apologize to the center. He approached you about this?
The representative, and well, yes, he did. We had talked about holding a women's training event in Oklahoma with my organization, because my dream has always been to hold a large, I would love to train 500 women in a weekend and get their permits for them if it's a state that requires permits. That would be my dream. And I had been working with a couple of organizations in the past, a couple of companies that promised to help do it. And long story short, it never happened. And he and I had started that conversation originally about arming women and doing a women's event. Uvalde hits. He calls me and he says, what do we need to do to get these teachers armed? And I said, let's turn this event that I have about Arm the Women into Arm the Teachers, which is kind of where that name comes from.
And
so
are you in Oklahoma? Are you in Oklahoma? Where do you?
No, sir. I actually live in Georgia.
Okay, you're in Georgia.
And Washington occasionally until our lawsuit is over. I'm still a legal resident up there while the lawsuit is still pending. But I travel all over the country and teach, and to the point where flying was too expensive. So I actually bought a minivan and decked it out with a twin size bed and all of my equipment, and I drive and travel across the country, and I teach now.
Nice. Very good.
Yeah, and we offer scholarships. I work with 2A Women, Jan Morgan, with 2A Women. I'm their domestic violence outreach supporter, and we get scholarships for women that can't afford training, domestic violence victims, and so on. And that's a lot of what we do in addition to teaching and a lot of other kind of facets of what We the Female does. But this Arm the Teachers was all birthed from that philosophy. The fact that most teachers, especially in elementary schools, are women. This is just, it was kind of like peanut butter and jelly. They just kind of fit together.
Let me ask you this, because obviously Oregon will allow this through the right circumstances. What other states will allow at this point in time teachers to carry?
So it's Oklahoma. We're doing this in.
What did I say?
That's okay. This one's in Oklahoma, and there's actually a lot of states. So here's the kicker with this, and Jordan might be better to answer this, but I'll kind of lead in for him. A lot of states themselves don't actually have laws specifically in place that say teachers can't carry. It's usually up to the school boards and the counties themselves, kind of like gun-free zones, right? There's very few states that actually have state regulation about gun-free zones. So when they kick people out, it's for kind of like the mask thing, right? It's for trespassing. Yeah. It's not because they actually have a firearm. So Jordan, why don't you?
I don't recall every state's exact laws on armed personnel. Some states, sadly, like North Carolina, it's just completely prohibited, right? Where there may be an RSO or something that could carry, or maybe a police officer, but you teach school staff or average Joes like you or I, it's not happening. There's some states, I think, like New Hampshire and double check me, but like there's no prohibition. You can carry all over campus, as I understand, in a state like New Hampshire. Other states, allow for armed teachers. I know Texas has 2 different programs, and there's definitely pros and cons to each of those programs. But it's a lot of hoops that the staff have to go through to get certified and actually do it. And it's heavily regulated and cost prohibited in many states. So, like I said,
Texas just a school district there just passed approved a policy allowing some employees to be armed. So that was just done here recently. But here's something that I found online while I'm asking you that question. I just thought you might know right off, and this is from marketrealist.com, and let's see if there's a date on this. So May 25th, 2022 is when this was published. And they've got a list here that says states that require school permission but not a concealed carry license are Alaska, Connecticut, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Montana, Nevada, New Jersey, Ohio, South Carolina, Vermont, and Wyoming. And that's per this website. I don't know how accurate that is, but and then obviously Texas has just done their thing here with that school. It says that school district, so it's not all of Texas.
And I know that Florida, there's certain counties in Florida and Arizona that allow, that they have ordinance in place. And that's why it's tricky to find, because some school boards will allow it, even though it's not a state law, and some state law, it's a very convoluted, it's a lot of layers to get into to find that. What I find unfortunate is that, to me, I personally think that the states are still seeing it as a money grab for teachers to be armed when they say, oh, we're going to do something and, to protect our kids and allow the teachers to be armed, but they're going to have to go through all this. Now, logically, I get it, right? From the, if I'm going to be objective and look at it from that other side, you want your teachers to know what they're doing if they're going to have a firearm around your kids. I get that. But, some of these requirements that they have are insane, and they're incredibly expensive, making it cost prohibitive. So how much of it is really, it was with good intention, or how much of it was just to pat, the right or the pro 2A people on the head, you know what I mean? So, but it's definitely.
Well, there no doubt needs to be some sort of training, and there needs to be some sort of.
I agree.
Proficiency before.
Yeah.
They just, they just
don't
turn.
Be regulated state.
Yeah, anybody loose on it, and that's what that's what they've got to look at, is what's fair, what's reasonable, and I think that's going to be, each individual is going to be a little different, and I don't think you can treat everybody the same way.
That's a fantastic point. I think what it really comes down to is government mandates, right? Because when we go get a carry permit, if you're a decent shooter, you pass that qualification easily, right? It is not a very high standard to pass, right? But the problem comes in where new shooters, and as I'm a new instructor, but as I have seen this with students and other people who I've interfaced with, they get their carry permit, they pass the course, and they think they're John Wick now because they passed this very low standard with it. And so what I love about constitutional carry is people can train to the standard that they need, right? Because people like us, we don't, we're familiar with guns, at least 2 of us are firearms instructors. We know what we're doing. We're safe. We don't need to, jump through a whole lot of hoops to do it. But other people, they need more help. And that's where the private sector instructors like Kerry and I'd love to show someone how to shoot. I love showing people how to shoot, taking them from a complete newbie and getting them to shoot out the bullseye, right? I mean,
Sure.
That's a great feeling.
And don't get me wrong, I don't mean that this needs to be government intervened upon. I think there needs to be standards put in place, but I don't think it needs to be government mandated. I don't think it needs to be some sort of, because again, I'm not for government getting involved with anything. They need to keep their dick skinners out of everything that we do. It's none of their damn business. The private, the school systems, the school systems are, they're public and they're government funded and all that. But again, that gets into another issue of maybe they shouldn't have been or shouldn't be. But they definitely don't need to get involved, and we need to do that ourselves, and we need to do it by having programs like what you guys are doing to kind of. I'm not saying that what you're doing is the number one best way to do it. For qualifying a school employee to carry on campus. But I mean, you got to start somewhere, right? And you got to start seeing what works and what doesn't work.
Go by what the law says, right? Well, we have to do.
Again, it's the law, and I'm saying that the law doesn't need to come into play here, and that's the issue.
Agree.
And everybody has to skirt in every different, not only state but in your district, and each individual school is going to have their own say so and who can and how they can and how they can't. I guess that's probably what it should boil down to, because everybody's different. Every school system's different. Every, especially when you get into the different grades and the different levels of the education.
Versus urban. There's so many different factors that go into this. How big is your campus?
Right.
There's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, so. And I'm not against arming teachers at all. And when we say arming teachers, that sounds so. Again, that's this political thing that they've thrown out there. It's not arming teachers. It's just giving them the ability to be able to protect themselves and the children against a unforeseen incident, mass shooter incident.
You mean taking away regulations that inhibit their unalienable right to defend themselves and their children?
Exactly.
Put in place. We agree with you 100%, and that's why, right now, like I said, before, we have to, unfortunately, we have to color within the lines on this. But we're really pushing for these state representatives. I don't like calling them legislators or officials because they work for us. And the more
they're not leaders, so don't ever call them leaders. They're not leaders.
Ever. I never call them leaders. I never call them. I do my best not to call them legislatures. I don't like to call them elected officials, any of that crap, because it subconsciously reinforces their
representatives,
their perceived dominance over us, and I absolutely despise that. And and even this state representative we're working with now, I said, don't think that because you're my friend or because you're doing this, that I will not scorch you if you step sideways on any 2A issue. Now, he's a gun owner. I mean, he helped author the first law that
apparently he owns some sort of gun company or something. Does he own a gun company? What's that?
He owns a
gun store
and a gunsmith, and so he's in the industry as well.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So I'm really holding him to the fire on working actively to get these regulations taken away for teachers, because you're right. I agree with you. In Lawrence County, Georgia, which is like Dublin, that's not far from where I'm at actually. After Uvalde, within a couple of weeks, the sheriff trained every teacher in the county that wanted to come and learn, and it was almost all of them actually. It was kind of cool, but they all received the training, and all. Lord knows how many you're carrying there now, but the county
that's
and
the
thing. Sheriff's Department.
They don't need to advertise that either. Nobody needs to know how many
know about it, right?
who's carrying anything. I think that's probably one of the things too that if this does get goes through and more states and counties and cities start doing this, that the gun grabbers are going to be well, who is it? We want to know who these people are. That it's none of your damn business, for one.
Yeah,
because that paints a target on their back at that point. So
I deal with that a lot. That
just like gun registration
mentality, the open carry mentality in Washington State, and how they don't think that you should be able to carry a gun, but I just don't understand why people need to open carry. I'm like, do you know what that is, right? Like, and I literally will. I own a day spot there, and I will expose my firearm and then put it back. I'm like, this is open carry. This is concealed carry. Do you realize that at any given time, you're probably in a restaurant with a minimum of one, if not two, depending on the size of the restaurant, more people carrying a gun. You just don't know it. But their perception of open carry is the AR guy at the Capitol, right? That's what their the perception is of it. Yeah. I said, and I promise you that if shit goes down, you're gonna be glad I'm there. And
yeah, and that's a whole nother thing. Let's stay on the school topic here. And
you're the one that's poking the bear.
I am, and I do that. I chase squirrels here, so I gotta keep myself on target too.
There's a lot of squirrels to chase in these woods.
Yeah. So you guys are doing this, and I think it's great that you're doing this. And Leadheads, if you're aware that something like this is going on in your area where there's training going on for teachers, email me, talkinglead@gmail.com. We need to be aware of if this is happening in other places as well, and to the extent that it's happening.
Well, we're
because we want to get behind it, we want to support it. That's
we want to bring it to other states. So our goal is after Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Is we're going to bring it here to Georgia, obviously, and all our goal, Jordan and I, and hopefully to see GOA on board with us as well as a separate entity, is to all of the Southeast region, every state that he oversees through as the director of for GOA, we're going to move there. So Georgia will probably be first since I'm here, and our goal is to have this accessible to everybody in the country. So, like you're saying, for your listeners, if it's not happening and you want it to, contact, him or contact us.
And I understand, and that's great that you guys are doing this and you're bringing it to, but you're one group, you're limited on your resources and the amount of people. So I'm curious and interested if there are other people, organizations that are doing this also.
Yes.
And, if we can get behind them. And of course, we'll do the background check on them, make sure they're legit and all that. But I want to know how GOA got involved with this. What extent are you guys involved with Kerry and the representative in this Arm the Teachers in Ohio?
Like Kerry said, she first got involved with GOA when she joined us when we sued over 1639 in Washington.
What's 1639? That's just numbers to a lot of our listeners.
That was the ballot initiative that the state passed, which had some of at the time, some of the most restrictive gun control in the country. I would say what Oregon just passed is probably maybe a little worse. It's debatable, but very restrictive ballot measure that GOA sued, and Kerry was our plaintiff in that.
Okay.
And then we've kept in touch over the years. Kerry would call me and bother me and make me squirm and squeal and roll my eyes, and
I have that. But I make men uncomfortable. I'm not sorry.
But and honestly, it came about because I became a firearms instructor recently, and then a We the Female instructor, and she called me up and she was like, "Hey, is GOA interested in helping with this event, in sponsoring this event?" And so I ran up the chain. My bosses they seemed very excited about it, and GOA, we've been, for over 40 years, a purely political entity. We fight for the rights of gun owners at your state capitol, in the courts, in the political arena. For many reasons, we've just not done firearms training, but because of my new certifications, GOA is actually able now to be hands-on in this training, and it's something that we've never done before as an organization, to my knowledge. And I don't think any gun rights group, to my knowledge, has done anything like this before. So we're breaking new ground, spreading into new areas, to not just talk about arming teachers, because that's been something we've supported for decades, but actually have a hand in doing it. Mm-hmm. So we're taking it up a notch.
Very good. And how long has GOA been around?
We've been around since 1976.
1976, and again, forgive me if I seem ignorant here, but do you guys offer the insurance for people who carry?
No, we don't do any insurance.
Okay, so you're strictly the legislative.
Yeah. We fight in Washington D.C. in your state capital.
I got you.
And,
all right. My bad. All right.
No problem.
No problem. Just wipe over that at all.
That was a very valid question because I think a lot of people probably were wondering the same thing. I think that's a great question.
Yeah.
So this takes greatly advocacy, education. That's something that Jordan and I are going to be moving forward with as well. In 2023 is doing a lot more education outreach and helping people learn how to read policy because as I learned the hard way with 16, I didn't support it to begin with, but I should say some of my friends learned the hard way that it's not what policy says. It's usually what it doesn't say that bites us in the butt, and it's done on purpose.
Or how it's said.
Well, and how, yeah, exactly.
Because words have meaning and the way that they're formed.
And often it's this, we're going to allocate $50 million for a committee to be created. That's the TAPS Act was actually like that. I got all of that printed. And then they can do what they want to do. I'm paraphrasing, right? But that's usually what the laws are, right? So just like this in Washington State, when you sign your 4473 in Washington State, it is an automatic waiver of your medical record. And then the Washington State Health Authority committee that is created will determine whether or not they feel you are fit to purchase a firearm. Not just own one, but purchase one. Okay, so who's the health authority? Great question. What's the criteria? Great question. But see, once you already vote for it, it doesn't matter because now they can do whatever they want. Yeah. And that, right? So if Margaret, on the committee, it had a bad day and she's pissed at her husband or didn't change her hormone patch or whatever, right? She's going to deny you just because she doesn't like your name. Obviously these are extreme, comments, but
it's factors that come into people's decisions. It's how they feel on any given Sunday, kind of deal, male or female. Exactly. When you leave it up to human, you leave it up to human error too. So
and that same bill there was several things in that bill. It's an automatic 10-day waiting period to purchase any firearm. So that, the cooling off period component that they call it. And now you have to be 21 or over to buy rifles. And there's the safe storage. So if somebody steals your gun out of your home, this was all in 1639 in that initiative, along with the waiver of your medical rights thing. Yeah. So it is safe storage. So if somebody breaks into your home and steals your firearm and uses it in a crime, you can be charged with a felony. Okay, well, what does safe storage mean? They don't define it. So it's completely arbitrary, just like your medical record now. And so this is a lot of what Jordan and I see, and we see this constantly. We saw it in Washington State. We were trying to get it overthrown with a ballot initiative, with a petition to get it repealed. That was Dan Mitchell and Sporting Systems. We were all involved with that kind of stuff up there. He's still suing at the federal level to get that overturned, by the way. But people would walk past us to go into Sportsman's or Bass Pro or Cabela's and say, we don't get involved in politics. We don't want involved. And then would come back out pissed off because they couldn't buy a rifle and walk out the door with it the same day.
So you still feel the same way about politics now, buddy?
and they're all of a sudden they're like, where's that petition?
Yeah.
Like,
I get it. So I want to get back on track. I'm getting us back on track. So we're talking about arming our schools here, hardening our schools, defending our resources, our kids. So you guys are taking one step to do that, okay? And arming teachers is one step, but that's not the only step, and it may not be the right step. I don't know. Who knows? Definitely people's right to carry and protect themselves. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But there are other ways that our schools can be hardened, and not necessarily the teachers, but you could have more armed professionals there as well. That's definitely an option.
I know a lot of veterans that would volunteer to sit.
A lot of veterans that would do that. That's a resource that we have that we're not using, that we haven't been tapped into. And they're talking about, it's going to cost all this money for us to arm these schools. Well, look at all this money that you're wasting on this other crap, all these stupid studies that you're dumping money into that don't need to be done.
Boys' bathrooms.
Exactly. You know, we could talk days for useless government programs that money. What about lotteries? Lotteries are set up for school, right? For scholarships in schools. Why not allot money for that to go into these schools to improve the door locks, to improve the security systems, to improve, hiring again more armed professionals, SROs,
and I
training
was just
them.
Say, a big way. I serve on my church's security team as well, so and I'm no security expert, but I help out a decent bit, and I always encourage people, please lock the door, right? Because obviously that if someone's determined, they will get through, but that will slow them down. And if you can delay and just
it's all about time. It's time. It gives you more time to react. It's all about time to defeat, to stop, to delay. The threat. And Uvalde is a point. They had this system already in place. That doors are supposed to stay locked and blah blah blah. And come to find out, somebody was out smoking or something, and they put a brick in the door, and that's how this jackwagon got in and murdered all these people.
So that there's been, if you look at like the urban schools, like in the cities, like ironically where the crime, especially the crimes committed with guns, violent crimes are committed with guns, are committed. There's no mass shootings at those because they have single point entry.
They've got wands, they're metal detectors, everything.
Yeah, and so this single point entry alone and self lock door. Where they're one-way door lock, where the teacher, they unlock from the inside, like a fire door almost, right? But they're locked on the outside. Those two things, simple things alone. I know that a while back there was a whole thing that went down. There was a teacher that she took some heat for this, and this is actually what my husband does. Like this is his expertise, is physical security stuff, and military. 24 years, that was his thing.
Why is he not in here with us?
Because you notice he just handed me a piece of paper. He doesn't you'll find very little. You've met him. Interestingly enough, you've met him. So
tell him to put on a mask and jump on.
No, he won't. No. He won't. But I'm blessed that he's trained me to do some of this physical. I can do small stuff. Like he does countries and ports. I can do a church and a house. Like I don't try to get past my pay grade with stuff. But there was a teacher that she took a little heat for this, but she had 10-gallon buckets of rocks in her room. And she taught the kids that if something happened to stand up and throw the rocks. And people thought this was the dumbest thing. He goes, that's actually pretty smart.
It's better than nothing at all.
He said, fighting back, especially with something like that, it's going to deter them. He said that was actually not a bad idea. And I was like,
I've seen a school somewhere, and I don't know where it was. There's a school, and it may have been Ohio, where this was, but where they had deterrent systems in place where like these metal doors drop, the smoke is deployed.
I know there's a school in Indiana like that.
It's Indiana. That's where it was. Yes. Yep. Yeah. Indiana. And and I think that's a great model to start from. And I agree. And all right, you don't want to arm the teachers, then here's some other things that you can do. But then they're like, oh, well, it cost all this money. Well, again, look at where all your money's being wasted and where it could go. And, these lotteries, Prime, they just gave away $1 billion in the lottery not too long ago, And
the guy only got half because the other half went to taxes. But
right, and which is supposed to go to these school programs, scholarships, whatever, but it's for schools. So there you go. There's the money right there that instead of, because you don't see, where's this money from all these lotteries? They're not spending it on schools. Yeah. Do you see any schools improvements or anything going on? You still hear about all the teachers that are over, they have too many students, they can't can't take on the load that they've got. They're still making teachers pay for pencils and paper and stuff for their classes, which is ridiculous. I was married to a teacher several years ago, and it just made no sense to me. I was like, why are you buying this stuff? Because otherwise I don't get it, and I can't teach my kids the lessons. It's like,
it's
ridiculous.
the school superintendents are still getting their raises though.
Yeah, they're getting their raises and all that bull crap.
Well, that's a big reason why we wanted to provide this at no cost to the school staff.
No, and because I get that, and that's great that you guys are doing it, because the majority of them probably wouldn't do it anyway, because they're like, I can't afford it. Again, right. It's cost prohibitive. So, again, there's ways that this can be done without raising taxes or having another tax or another fee put into place by the government, where we ourselves can come in as parents, as supporters of our school systems, whatever it may be, to get this done and make it happen. And again, I'm not saying arm the teachers. That's an option, and that's something that can be done. It's another level, but there's so many other things that can be done before it got to the point to where the teachers have to get to that, because they've got enough to worry about. They have enough to worry about on their own about teaching the kids. Well, we don't want them distracted about worrying. I heard a noise. Oh my God! We need them concentrated on educating the kids and their school lessons. Education.
I'll say this. I think a really important point to this is this: we're not going to force anyone who doesn't want to carry a gun to carry a gun, right?
I don't think that's an issue. I don't think anybody's making that mistake either.
Yeah, but
this is completely voluntary.
But exactly,
just like your right to carry a firearm is completely voluntary. Nobody's forcing you to carry. If you don't want to carry, don't carry. But don't tell me that I can't carry.
You're gonna put on that. Oh,
the same teacher who may be carrying at Walmart, at least I'm saying that person should be able to carry in school, right? Because that's the point I'm just trying to make, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like the fact that there's this additional training that, by the way, you have the right to carry, but if you're going to carry and you're going to carry in school, there's certain other things that you probably need to know and need to learn to be proficient in that environment.
And we do plan to teach non-lethal, and defensive. I'm a defensive mindset teacher. My favorite class I do teach is defensive mindset class, and that's the class that I call the foundation of everything we the female is built on, which is wrapping your brain around how not to make yourself a victim to begin with. And there's a lot of things that can go into that, or non-lethal options that are phenomenal deterrents and that cost nothing, like you said. And so those are all things that will be covered in this class.
Good. But what's so frustrating is, and you go back to all these mass shootings, is there were signs way before, and they were on law enforcement radar. And
or the FBI.
And
Good warnings to the FBI.
Exactly. So that's things that need to be looked at also and discussed, because again, it's before it gets to this point to where our teachers have to use lethal force or whatever it may be. There are steps that could be taken way prior to that to prevent these mass shootings, to protect our schools. So it's not just focusing on the schools. It's it goes way beyond that.
It does. And so let me not that a lot of y'all aren't already going to get this, but so at the end of the day, what is the real agenda of the school shooting, right? Like my friend Ursula, she's awesome. She's a competitive shooter, and she said this, and it was just so succinct. She says, they're going to keep killing our babies until they take our guns. And I was like, that's it, right? So they know that there's all of this in place. They know that they're dropping the ball on this stuff. They know that, with the exception of, I think, one of them, don't quote me on that because I haven't looked at statistics recently, but last year when I did, that these shooters, particularly the school shooters, all but one of them was on psychotropic medications, and it was the Columbine ones that only lived with both of their parents. So there's some breakdown with the dynamic, but like you said, Marty, there's this pattern of they know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
What were there, like, how many were there, y'all? Like 10 calls or something on the Parkland guy? They had repeated
36, I think. 36.
Multiple.
I didn't want to overestimate, but I went way under. And so they knew. So really, like, that's a whole other thing that we can get into. And when we're talking about teaching, so like my organization's philosophy is arm the women with education, confidence, and self-defense. And education is first, because education gives you the confidence to be able to defend yourself. And sometimes that education and that confidence leads you to not having to use self-defense to begin with. And so that's the core of everything.
Don't put yourself in that situation. Yeah.
Never. And sometimes you can do everything you can to not put yourself in that situation and
still get in. Yeah.
So then what do you do, at that situation? And that doesn't always mean using a gun. This is the most powerful weapon you have. Mm-hmm. This is it right here, because this isn't going to happen, right? This isn't going to happen unless you've got this ready to go. And so people, like Jordan said,
for our listening audience, she was pulling a air gun trigger.
Yeah, I've had to draw my gun in Seattle. Always Seattle, man. Every incident crazy. And I thank God every day that I did not have to pull that trigger, because people think, well, I would just take him down. Like, would you? Because it ain't just about legal. Like, there's all kinds of shit that goes with this, right? There's like, I had nightmares that night. Mm-hmm. It was a crazy homeless guy on drugs, and he started at my car, and it's a long story, but I was fortunate that I did not have to pull the trigger. And once the endorphins dropped, and I make the joke, but it's true. And, I've talked to people that are, veterans that have been in active, fire, fights, and, about peeing themselves, right? That whole going into the black and losing all of the bodily functions and stuff. And once the adrenaline dropped, and I took this inventory, and I was like, am I cool? Like, what's going on? I make jokes about it in class. Like, I didn't pee myself, so now I can think clearly. And I was going to kill that man. I was in that space. Now, what that's done for me mentally has put me also in the space that I'm a hell of a lot more peaceful and willing to avoid conflict, because now I know how capable of violence I really am. Because I will take you out if I have to. And because I've been in the situation where I almost had to, but it was enough that I had to actually analyze, would I have done it? And so we never want teachers to have to get to that. We don't want anybody to ever have to get to that point.
But that's why that's why you have these training courses also. And I'm not talking about shooting paper. I'm talking about taking a defensive handgun course to where it gets your adrenaline elevated to where you get the tunnel vision, you get the heavy breathing, you lose all the sensation in your extremities. And, it all just comes down to muscle memory and training. Yes. Until you've had that training, you've not had training. And you don't know how dead you will be, or someone else that doesn't need to be dead will be, until you take that training. Getting your permit, taking that course, that's nothing. That's not training.
Correct. It is. It's
shooting my daddy's gun when I was growing up. That ain't training.
Yes. And that's why and Jordan and I, we talked about this, and that's why my fundamentals training is getting you over the fear of carrying a gun, right? I don't give a crap about trigger reset right now, because when you're digging through the bins at Target looking for stocking stuffers for your kids, you're not going to give a shit about trigger reset. Like, that's going to be the last thing. Where your feet are, oh, am I in a Weaver stance, or an isolate? You're not going to give a shit about that, right? Mm-mm. So this is the beginning of your training, the beginning of carrying a gun.
And even if you're just considering, maybe you don't know if it's right for you. You should take one of these courses, because then you're going to know whether you're capable of carrying or not. And you may decide that it's not for you, and that's fine. There is nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
And on that note, let me expand on that, because one of the biggest hypocrisies I see in the 2A community, and I see this a lot coming, I'm sure it happens with dudes too, but it really hits with women, right? Because particularly the space that I work in, with DV victims, and, and I talk about those stories a lot, those tragic stories, and all women should own guns. Everybody should carry a gun. And that is one of the most hypocritical statements that I hear from the 2A quote unquote liberty community, because how dare you sit there and say to someone that they need to own a gun, that they should and they need to, yet you're the same individual that's pissed off that you don't want anybody telling you how to live your life or what to defend yourself with. Yep. And that is the attitude that turns most women away well, there's many of them, but that's one of the biggest that turns women away from wanting to learn how to use firearms, are those arrogant assholes that want to push it down their throats.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would rather you take my class and say,
that and the 5'11" pants.
Not what I thought it was, but it's still not for me. Cool. Let's find you a hand-to-hand instructor.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Right.
There are other options. There are other options for you.
There are lots of other options. And honestly, I love shooting. I carry a gun. I make the joke that I don't want you to blood my clothes. I don't like knives. They scare me. Women, side note, you should always still learn how to defend against them because women aren't raped at gunpoint, right? Women are raped at knife point, typically. So at the very least, learn how to defend against them. But there are many other options, and to hyper focus on firearms as the only option for self-defense or the be all to end all for so many reasons is not the best idea. I completely agree with you. However, nobody should be denied the ability to do so if they choose to. But
I encourage everyone. I encourage everyone that's thinking if they haven't done it, if you want to own a firearm, take a legitimate defensive handgun course first.
Yeah.
If you're on the fence, you're like, I don't know if I would be able to defend myself and others. Well, take one of those courses, and you'll definitely find out, because that's just a taste of what your adrenaline level would be. And
I've done some scenarios.
Let's do this. Let's take some listener questions now. We're about an hour or almost 2 hours into this, and we've probably covered a lot of these, but let's see what our listeners have to say. I made a post earlier, and I think you reposted it. So if you've got people on yours that commented too, Kerry, feel free to read those.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. Somebody knew who I was on one of your posts. I thought that was kind of cool.
Of course they know who you are.
Well, not everybody does.
So let's see. Nikolai Alpanap, and he was on our last Leadhead episode, Aura. Until the culture changes, hardening schools seems to be the only option, although my preferred answer is homeschooling for those families fortunate enough to be able to accommodate that. That's also an option, but, again, you still need to be trained on how to use a firearm because people could break into your house. Flood Munition says, if I had children, it would be homeschool and lots of community activities to socialize and make friends. Unfortunately, to homeschool, it does require the right kind of job and lifestyle for the parents, which is tough for many.
Well, and I get that, but like you said, there's home invasions. You're more likely to have a home invasion than a mass shooting at school.
That's true.
That's the bullshit that even people on quote unquote, and I use
but then you're not having to worry about bullshit. School regulations and city and state regulations. Then you're on your own domicile, your own house, and you can protect your castle the way you see fit. Mustang Perry says, looking forward to this one. It is great. It's a great thing to have our future protected. The government say they need all of this security and private protection and swear that they care about our kids, and then vote against things like this that would actually protect the future leaders of this great nation.
True.
That's a good point. Yeah, all the money. Look at all the money that they put into defending themselves. J. Edgar Paradox. No-brainer for most of us on here. Protect what matters. But liberals seem to shine when it comes to these topics. Protect the dollar. No, wait. They protect their dollar. I can't wait for this episode. Let's see how far in this rabbit hole we can go. Well, we're going pretty far. Lefty, you better have plenty of hard drive space.
This one would be good as a live one,
Yeah, I don't do live. Live well.
I have a hard time recording. Like I struggle with content because I'm a conscious stream thinker. So I do better with live.
B. Hurst says, yes, homeschooling is best, but child interaction with other children is important as well. But when both parents work full time, it's not doable. She works days, I'm on nights. And we get that, it's not an option for everybody. And obviously that's why we have school systems in place. But let's see. He also goes on to say, stop trying to erase history. What other reason would they have other than wanting it to repeat? You can't change the past, so why not learn from it?
That is a whole other conversation we can have,
Yeah.
my friends.
Oh my God, B. Hurst has got like 50. I hit a nerve with B. Hurst.
I'm a history nerd, big history nerd. So I could go on for hours about some of that stuff.
With so much technology now, why has the school system seemed to be degrading instead of developing? They also need better communication and management for kids with learning disabilities like ADD and others. Why not teach real-world applications like taxes, retirement, and economics in investing instead of falling in line to produce sheep for the government? Bring back the damn paddle.
Learning how to pay taxes makes you fall in line to be sheep for the government.
Yeah, exactly. Bring back the damn paddle and a man or woman that know how and when to swing it. Hell, send a permission slip to my parents if need be. Yes, my child gets out of line. He busts it. He whoops that ass.
I'll never forget this. When I was in 6th grade and we went to tour the middle school, and I'm almost 50 years old, and this is stuck with me to this day, that we had done the tour and we were just coming up to the VP's office to tour that. And about the time that we were doing that, we weren't allowed to go in. Now we know it's because there was a kid getting ready to get his ass whooped in there. And the other VP walks out and he was tall, like he was like Ichabod, like tall, skinny. He was like 6'6", something like that. Just really, and of course he was even taller to us, right?
Sure. He was a giant when you're a kid.
He walked out, and it was timing, right? It was not planned. It really wasn't. But that door opens as he goes walking out, and you hear and the kids scream. And this VP, the other VP, because he's way over us, right? He doesn't even make eye contact with any of us, and he just keeps walking by, and he goes, "Another one bites the dust." And he just walking, and all of us were like, we were terrified.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. There have been no consequences for the misbehavior.
Yeah.
For the kid, other than you get suspended, you get sent home. Well, that's a freaking vacation for them. They get on their Xbox and get on their social media.
Yeah, it's an inconvenience for the parents, so they just let them get away with whatever they want.
Yeah.
Typically, and if you're not and I personally believe spankings are effective. If you're somebody who doesn't, I respect your way of parenting. Because I'll tell you what, hard labor or making them uncomfortable, making them do uncomfortable things like standing on your toes in a squat for, you know what I mean? Like there's things that you could do that make them mow the lawn, but with a manual lawnmower on 3 acres. There's shit you can do to, if that's not your option.
Something other than just go to your room.
Right.
Or you're grounded.
Right, which is now Disneyland for most of these kids. Yeah. So if you're somebody who doesn't believe in spanking, because that obviously, right, nobody can think critically or past what's said anymore, right? It's always one or the other. But there are definitely things that can be done that can be crazy effective. Find a farmer in your town and make them muck stalls.
Yeah.
I could go on all kinds of.
Well, I think the point of this is there's consequences for your actions, right? If you put garbage in, you're going to get garbage out, right? So instead of doing the dumb things, we need to teach some prudence and some wisdom. And some kids have to learn the hard way. Some kids learn the easy way. But there's consequences. And I feel like, and I'm taking off the GOA hat a little bit. I might start preaching. But, like, we live in a world where we just want to chase pleasure and chase, just what makes you feel good. That kind of gets into the whole transgender thing. But there's no consequences. You can just do what you want, and reality be darned.
Yeah.
There's no consequences to your action because you can just do what you want, and that's not right. We live in a world of absolute truth, right? There is a moral right and wrong, and that's what we have to stay with. And no matter what you think or what you believe in your head, that doesn't change reality. So,
good points. All good points.
We want the teachers to understand that we want to give let me rephrase that. We want to give them the tools to be able to protect themselves and their students the way that they feel is most effective for them. And so while we are going to be teaching, obviously, the criteria to meet the concealed carry and the teacher carry requirement, we will most definitely be exploring other options, because I'm all for those other options, because just like I teach my ladies in my classes, you are too pretty for prison. Nobody looks good in County Orange. And do you really, even in a pro-2A state, do you really want to take the chance? And this is just criminal, right? This isn't even talking about the civil shit that you could end up in. This isn't even talking about your own moral and ethical and psychological impact, right? So at every turn, what can we do? Like you said, what are the options that we can explore that aren't this lethal option until you have no choice?
And I just wanted to read this real quick. This is from it's on the Truth About Guns. Rob Morris. He says, what can be done to stop more mass murders in the United States? That question comes to mind since President Biden recently claimed we need to massively disarm honest U.S. citizens in order to stop mass shootings. Instead of accepting the president's words at face value, I looked at what the experts say. There are many questions we may ask and lots of facts we can consider. We do a range of things today to stop violence in the U.S. This is what I found. We stop several thousand violent events every year. The United States is about average in its rate of mass murder. We stop more than half of the attempted mass murders who attack where honest citizens are allowed to go armed. Most mass murders go through a predictable process, and we ignore warning signs time after time. We've talked about both of those. We should stop making the murderers into overnight celebrities.
That's it right there.
But that's hard to do because we don't control the media, obviously. A Walmart employee murdered several of his coworkers in Virginia. That happened a few weeks ago. President Biden then commented that the idea we still allow semi-automatic weapons to be purchased is sick. It's just sick. It has no social redeeming value. Zero, none, not a single. Solitary rationale for it except profit for the gun manufacturers. That was a direct quote from Biden. And I'm sure I said it more legibly than he did. The president's comment is bizarre given what we know. We know that more than 4,000 ordinary U.S. citizens use a firearm to protect themselves from a serious threat every single day. Stopping that many assaults, robberies, rapes, and murders is of immense socially redeeming value. The president obviously disagrees. That level of armed self-defense in America shouldn't come as news. We've seen similar reports for the last few decades. The data is broadly consistent, including a report from the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention that was commissioned by the Obama administration. We are all biased, but we have good reason to be. We think that what we see in the news gives us a representative picture of what is happening in the world overall. It feels that way to us, but in truth, there's a lot that goes unreported by our local news stations. Grossly unreported.
Like approximately 1.5 million, I think John Lott has put that research out there, defensive gun uses a year. And you pair this, so Jean Pierre, right? That train wreck of a boy. When I thought Psaki couldn't be bad, they're like the Democrats were like, hold our beer. Like, is this broad shows up, and she had to do a huge damage control because God bless Ducey, and all semi-automatic weapons, and she's like, oh, he meant assault weapons. Well, my ex-husband assaulted me he almost killed me with his fists.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody calling for more abuser control. I don't see people calling for more fist control. But one of the biggest pawns for gun control is domestic violence victims. And the other one, children, and especially in schools.
Yeah.
So this is why this is so important to me with this. This all just works right into what I do. Right now, I've not posted about it. And of course, I've got people flooding my DMs with it, expecting me to comment, post on it, because I will. I've just been busy with getting this event together. But the 911 call that was recorded, I'm sure y'all heard it, where the woman, and it was in Oregon. My daughter goes to college in Oregon, so this one hit for me. It bothered me. But I mean, not that it didn't bother me as a woman and as an abuse survivor, but having my daughter in that state. But she calls 911 because her ex-boyfriend, who was an abuser and stalking her, was breaking into her house. And the 911 operator is like, we're sorry, we don't have anybody to come. Just tell him to leave. If he tries to beat you up or tries to hurt you, just tell him to leave. And she ends up getting raped.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. But
I just saw a post on, and sorry to cut you off, on social media where this 911 call comes in.
That's it.
And the guy's trying to break. Is that the one you're talking about? And the 911 officers are like, we don't have anybody to send out. And she's like, well, just tell him to leave.
It's not just it's not just that what she says, but it's the nonchalant attitude she has about it.
Oh,
you notice the sheer lack of empathy as a woman.
No empathy at all.
Female.
So let me finish this. So this guy goes on. This is a good article. You guys can go to.
I didn't realize you were still reading it. I apologize.
The Truth About Guns, Rob Morris, and he sums it up by saying, we know what doesn't work. We see example after example where a government employee failed to stop a mass murder. That can be a call screener at the FBI call center as the attack at the Pulse nightclub. It can be a school resource officer who stood outside the school building while children were being murdered in Parkland, Florida. We saw over 100 law enforcement officers standing outside an unlocked classroom door in the attack on Uvalde, Texas. We saw school officials return an armed student to class in the attack in Highland, Michigan. I have little hope that bureaucrats will do any better. Fortunately, we can. The good news is that the solution is in our hands. What will we do? And that's the point I'm trying to make, is that it has to be up to us, not the government. We have to do this on our own for ourselves.
Exactly. And that's why we're taking this on.
What these guys are doing at GOA, what Kerry's doing with We the Female, and again, the representative guy, his name...
Jay Stiagall.
Jay Stiagall is doing. So continue, Kerry. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's exactly, thank you. You said it. That's what we're doing. Like, we've come to realize that well, not come to realize, we know that we have for a while that it's nobody wants to, take action. So somebody needs to, and we need to. And Jordan and I get in conversations about this all the time where we just get heated and we heat each other up talking about it.
Yeah, I know. And it frustrates me because we're preaching to the choir here, and all our listeners, know this, but we have to.
And I'm glad you said that because, and I apologize for cutting you off, but that is a button for me, and it pisses me off because I am so sick and tired of if I see all gun laws are unconstitutional or shall not be infringed in the comments. You know what? We know what it says.
Yeah.
We know that we know what the 27 words of the Second Amendment are. We know that it's unconstitutional. But why don't you get off your fat ass and get out in the community and start educating your neighbors and doing shit instead of just bitching on the internet? Because you are no better than the people that you profess to bitch about when you don't get off your ass and do anything. Well, I do something. What do you do? I donated to GOA. Okay, well, that's great. Thanks. But what are you actively doing in your community? Yeah. We, the people, are the government. We are meant to run the government. That was the way the structure of this is. We have nobody to blame at the end of the day for the way our situation is, but ourselves. And the people boy, do I piss off people when I say that, because they don't want to take responsibility for it. Because let's be honest, at the end of the day, as long as the cable is on, or their internet is on, and their pizza's being delivered, and there's beer in the fridge, people aren't going to do a goddamn thing to solve the problem, and the government knows it, and that's why they have you complicit, and that includes gun owners.
Amen.
Well, it's like I was talking about earlier.
My sentence.
Like the complacent gun owners, right?
It's awful.
And like, look, I love everyone who donates to GOA, right? But even just giving us $20 a year, like, we need more than that, right? We need you to show up at your state capitol. And show up at hearings. Even consider being a plaintiff like Kerry did. We need you to be active, because your rights are worth taking a day off work and going to your state capitol for a lobby day, right? Your right to own these right? To have this, I love this.
He's holding up an AR for our listening audience,
right? It is worth defending, and it's just not enough to just throw GOA money. It's not enough to just talk about it online. You have to put action on it, and gun owners are our own worst enemies because we will lose this fight out of pure apathy.
Yep. And the whole delusion in Texas, I think, is one of the best, and Arizona to a certain degree, although Arizona's Kerry Lake really kind of woke them up down there. But the Texas is a great example. I'm half Texan by by birth. My mom and family are all from Midland, Odessa, West Texas. Which they're like, Texas, free Texas, this is amazing, blah blah blah. I'm like, y'all getting ready to flip.
Have you been to Austin lately?
Huh?
It's like, hey, dude, have you been to Austin lately?
or Houston, or even El Paso, and I lived in California, I lived in Oregon, and I lived in Washington for the past 20 years, and I watched Washington to a degree. I was a little young to be really aware in California, but Oregon and Washington State in particular, I was there and lived through watching how they flip it. I tried to tell people, even when they run for office, I'm like, I'm telling you, this is what you need to do, because this is what they do. And I have had liberal women come and take my classes, anti-gun liberal women, who completely flipped them, especially when I told them about the mental health thing and the denial of a purchase. And they're like, well, what do you mean? Right? And because most people have been on some sort of something, right? Even if it's just a sleeping medication. And some of these medications and things that can get you denied for a purchase of a gun in Washington are not for antidepressants, but they're classified like smoking cessation, right?
Sure.
But they're classified as that.
Sure.
And she got hot, totally flipped her. I gave her, she went to candidates to their pages, and she emails me during the election, and she says, if they want people to like me, they want our votes, this is what they need to do to fix it. Like we literally tell these people what they need to do to fix, like to reach the people that they need to be reaching.
Yeah.
And they do nothing, to the point where I'm convinced.
And then they get reelected.
And so I'm convinced.
Explain that,
I am convinced, after watching what just happened in Washington State in particular, that the Republican Party leadership in each state has absolutely been bought off. Because the things that they're telling these candidates to do. I
mean, come on, let's face it. They're all on the same team, and
they are.
They're not on our team. Republicans and Democrats, they're working together.
Fact, and the fact that they still play this game. I mean, I was blown away. They were telling these candidates in Washington State to go door knocking on Republicans' doors and to go to gun conventions. I'm like, we are in such a divided culture, especially in Washington State. Why are you wasting your time and campaign dollars going to vote to talk to people that are going to vote for you anyway, just because of the letter behind your name?
Right. Exactly. So let's give all your contact info again. Talk about the Arm the Teachers, how they can donate, get involved with that, if we've got listeners that would like to do that.
So there's many places you can find us, but I think the best place to go to, if you want to become a member of GOA, if you want to donate to We the Female, if you're a school staff member in Oklahoma who wants to sign up, is to go to gunowners.org/armtheteachers, plural with an S. Go there and you can learn more. If you like GOA, if you like what you've heard, consider becoming a member, right? If you like the new work we're doing with We the Female, to not just talk about arming teachers, but actually have a hand in doing it. If you like our no compromise policy.
Even if you're already supporting another gun rights organization, you can still get involved with GOA.
Sure can. It's $25 a year. Heck, that's less than a box of ammo, right? It's
like one
much
round.
Less than a box of ammo.
It's like one round of 270 nowadays.
Exactly. So, that's all I got to say. gunowners.org/armtheteachers. Go there.
We the Female, if you want to donate to help arm the teachers, I do have a wish list that I need to get posted. There are things that we could use ammo, targets, that kind of stuff for this event. Or if you want to donate funds, wethefemale.net/donation or donate, wethefemale.net/donate. I know Jordan's got those links he can actually give you and put up there for you. And 100% of all the proceeds that come in, I don't get a paycheck to do what I do. I'm blessed to be in a position not to have to. So 100% of the money that is coming in will go to this event and then future events to either Armed Women or the Scholarship Fund for abuse victims that can't afford their training. Additionally, we do have, thanks to, I want to give Brownells a shout real quick. They are donating a pistol for us to raffle off to raise money for this event.
We're not saying what it is. We're not saying what it is. Not yet.
Oh, you can. This won't be released till Friday.
Yeah, you can guess what it is. But
take a guess.
Is it? Who is it? Who's donating? Smith and Wesson? Oh, Brownells. They're going to donate one of these?
Brownells is done. I wish. I wish. That might not make it to the... Oh, sorry, I got lost in transit. No, so Brownells is generously, and that is in part thanks to Shermichael Singleton from Guns Out TV. He's going to be coming down. He's very supportive of what we're doing, and he helped facilitate getting us that firearm for donation.
Nice.
If you are a manufacturer or someone in the industry and you have something you'd like to donate for us to raffle off or raise money with, that would be great too. Because this event is going to, what is required by Oklahoma it's going to be expensive. We didn't get a range for free, unfortunately. So we have to pay for a range and range fees.
What? And those cheap bastards.
We'll talk. Yeah. And I've even tried to reach out to a couple of other ranges and they won't. It's all about money. People really don't give a shit about arming women or arming teachers. They give a shit about money in this industry.
It's like, oh, can I make money from it? Then yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah. In January, because I'm sure that they have a lot of people at an outdoor range in January, when it's cold but whatever. Anyway, yeah. So we're, it's not cheap to put this on. We're going to do it regardless. We'll figure it out. We'll find the money for it. But if you're so inclined to donate, it is We the Female is a 501c3. So we are, it is a tax deductible donation. And if you need an invoice or a receipt for that, especially for objects, eyes and ears are great. We need those. And anything, ammo, anything like that we can use to either use to facilitate training or to donate or raffle off is appreciated.
Very good. And give it the site one more time.
wethefemale.net/donate. And then gunowners.of.america.org
gunowners.org/arm the teachers.
Gunowners, yeah.
And I'll make in the show notes, listeners, I'll have links that you can go to in the show notes where this is posted on the website. So I greatly appreciate you guys taking the time to be on again with the short notice and all, and with the busy schedules that you have. It was great having you on. Very important information. Glad that we got it out to our listeners. So listeners, go and support GOA. Go and support We the Female and this arming, training our teachers to be armed. It's all good stuff. So go and support that. No, anytime.
Thanks for working us in.
Anytime. Appreciate you guys being on, and I'll have you back on because you got a lot to talk about, Kerry. I know you're a good talker. I like it. And lead heads, go and support those that make this show possible. All our sponsors of the show, they're giving back to you with our 10-year giveaway. I haven't talked about that. So you can go to talkinglead.com, and there's links to the giveaway there. I'm sharing my screen here. I'm trying to get to it. And this is what it is. It's one of those Gleam giveaways. The more you go and like the pages and subscribe, the more entries you get.
Ooh, clear them cookies and go back every day.
That's right. So like I said, we've got 6 different packages, close to $10,000 in prizes. 4 firearms. We've got a Century Arms AP5. We've got a Tavor from IWI. We've got an AR-7 from Henry Rifles. That's one of those breakdown 22s that will store in the buttstock and they'll float watertight. Kel-Tex put up a custom Cerakoted multi-magazine Sub 2000. That's the breakdown carbine that they have that you can fold it and it will fit nicely in a backpack or underneath your car seat. And Crimson Trace has put up a couple of scopes. Mission First Tactical has put up a slew of prizes. They've got holsters, they've got drinkware, they've got backpacks and gun cases. And then Kraken Cases has put up 5 of their Gamma cases. Have you guys heard of Kraken before?
I haven't.
So it's this foam is what it is, and it's like a memory foam. So you can put your gun and you can stack these 2 deep. See that?
Oh, I could use that when I'm on the road.
And you can put Ear Pro in there, Eye Pro, your binoculars, and what they're not showing you is that it's 2 deep. There's one underneath that too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Man, I could use that when I'm traveling. That'd be because I have to take a lot of handguns and rifles with me when I travel.
Yeah. And they're going to be coming out with gun cases, full rifle cases, but this is the one that they've got right now. So Kraken Cases, thank you to Ben for putting those up. ASP USA, they've got one of their AFS flashlights, not AFS, it's Raptor flashlights. It's almost 2,000 lumen flashlights with a CS spray kit. I think there's a whistle on there and some other things on that.
And talk about great non-lethal I'm a huge fan of
the spray and flashlights. Yeah, definitely.
Huge fan of those.
And then Seal One, thanks to Dwight over there at Seal One, they put up one of their awesome complete gun cleaning kits. And Medical Points Abroad, they've got like a $265 med kit that they're including in prize package 6. There's another scope in there, and then our friends over at Lockdown have put up one of their hide-a-gun shelves, like hide in plain sight shelves. Very nice piece of furniture. They put up a couple of their magnets for hide-a-gun, for your magnets. You can put them under a desk, put them in your car. And then a dehumidifier rod and a hygrometer for your safe. So those things are all awesome for your safe. So like I said, like $10,000. Primary Arms is putting up an optic on every one of the firearms. They're putting red dots on every one of those. So an awesome giveaway. You guys take the time, go enter that. It's until the end of the month for this one. You've got to enter. So do that. Go to my website, talkinglead.com, and that's where you can have a link to go and enter. And then also our raffle, by the time you hear this, our raffle to raise money for Sheepdog Impact Assistance is probably over. It ends tomorrow. So if you haven't had a chance and there's still time, the 15th is when this raffle ends. Again, you can go to my website. There's a link there. We're giving away a BFT 47 AK from Century Arms, has donated that. And I think we've got close to 6,000-7,000 tickets sold already.
Wow.
So your odds are still pretty good. So go and enter that because people are buying like in bulk. They're buying 200, 400, 500 tickets at a time. So
I would.
They're like, it starts off at $1 a ticket. So you have to buy a minimum of 10. It's $10 to get in. And then if you want to buy more, they get cheaper. So the people who are buying 200, I can't remember. I think they're like 50 cents a ticket. I don't know. It's ridiculous. But that all the proceeds, 100% of that goes to the Sheepdog Impact Assistance. Great organization that is helping our veterans, law enforcement, military, first responders, keeping them active by doing their get off the couch programs, scuba diving, hunting trips, hiking trips. They did a trip to Kilimanjaro not too long ago. They
That's
organized
amazing.
a trip to there. I know they do stuff at Yellowstone all the time. They do disaster recovery missions. So go sheepdogimpactia.org and donate, and then my website for the link for the raffle. And that is going to be announced on the next Talking Lead AK Corner. We're going to announce the winner of this raffle. So that's what we do here, guys. for our winners, for our listeners who win, they have to actually listen to the podcast because I don't contact winners. They have to listen to the podcast to find out if they win.
Nice.
If they don't claim their prizes, then we donate them to Sheepdog. That's how we do it here. So you got to listen to find out if you won. Do all the things.
That's awesome.
All our sponsors, Mission First Tactical, you go to their website, use the code LEADHEAD. You know, this is the season for Christmas, so you still got time for your Christmas shopping. Mission First Tactical, LEADHEAD, 20% off any of your purchases there. You go to seal1.com, use the code LEADHEAD, you get 25% off there. 1776 United for the Talking Leadhead Brigade patches, our logoed shirts and our Leadhead Brigade shirts. You go to 1776 United, use the code Talking Lead, get 20% off there. ASP, you heard them, they've got some prizes there that they're giving away, but they have upped their discount code for you leadheads for the holiday season. Instead of 15%, it's 20% off now. Use the code all caps LEADHEAD. Anything at aspusa.com. You know, they make those handcuffs and the batons. You know, you're talking about less lethal options. You know, they've got the batons there. And the flashlights are, bar none, my favorite flashlights of any company out there. They've got a wide variety of different flashlights for you to use, dual fuel and rechargeable. Leadhead, all caps, 20% off. Factory 47, you see the nice AK logoed hat I'm wearing here. And then, of course, our AK Corner logo apparel. You go to Factory 47, Factory with a K. Use the code LEADHEAD. You get 10% off anything there. IWI US, they're probably running some kind of stuff for their swag on their website. You can go there, check them out. And then Keltec, you use the code LEADHEAD. You're going to get 15% off anything at Keltec. Not firearms. No firearms. You can't buy guns on their website. But any of their products from their pro shop at Keltec. And then Lockdown, you heard those cool prizes that they've got there. The hiding shelves, the cool things for your safes. And then you see this nice display wall that I've got behind me here. You see that? For our listening audience? Those are called secure walls. That's new product from Lockdown, and those will be available first of the year, but you can go ahead and reserve those. I think they're taking pre-orders on them.
Those are cool.
And you use the code LEADHEAD. That's right, LEADHEAD. 15% off any of your purchase at lockdown.com. And that's what their logo looks like, in case you want to know what that is.
Actually, I have 3 of their magazine racks right over here.
Nice.
So they may or may not be holding AR mags.
They may or may not be holding AR mags. I bet
I love those. And, you know, side note on that, the people you work with, those sponsors, they've given you very generous.
They are generous.
Discount codes. Those are generous discount codes. Most are 10%.
I negotiate well for my lead heads.
Yes, you do.
You know, so we've got some of the most loyal listeners. Said we've been doing this for 10 years, and I appreciate not only our listeners, but our sponsors and friends of the show that take care of our listeners. And we're looking at, you know, hopefully doing another 10 years of this talking lead that we do, and having great guests like yourselves. So Leadheads, go let them know how much you appreciate them taking the time and being on. Go to their websites, go to their Instagrams. Did you guys give your Instagrams, your social medias where people can go?
Go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, so I have my personal, which is Jordan K. Stein. My instructor business page is Dry Powder Training. And of course, GOA is Gun Owners of America. So
just at Gun Owners of America?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And
then you got 2. You got the stilettos and shotguns, and you've got the We the Female.
3.0, because I'm on my 3rd. I had my first 2 stilettos and shotguns accounts. My first one at 18,000, my second one at 12,000. Taken down within 11 months of each other. No, not even that, 7 months of each other.
Oh, wow.
So I'm on my 3rd. So it's stilettos and shotguns 3.0. And then We the Female _official on Instagram. Just We the Female on Facebook and Stilettos and Shotguns. And then wethefemale.org.net, either one. They both will take you to the same. I'm also on Twitter, @thereal_SNS.
Very good. Leadheads, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all the holidays. I'm sure we'll probably have another episode. Definitely the AK Corner is going to be dropping before Christmas. So we'll talk to you then. But if not, be safe. Have a Merry Christmas. And as always, Leadheads, keep your loved ones close.
And your guns closer. And arm the women with education, confidence, and self-defense.
Never compromise on your gun rights.
And join a nice
GOA.
A nice firearms advocate group like GOA. That'd make a good Christmas gift too, wouldn't it?
If we had gift memberships.
There you go. Do it, Leadheads.